What's up? First ever hat roundtable Badlands video podcast. We are releasing this right before the league year, where we're all going to give a couple not outlandish, but stronger take than usual predictions for what's going to happen this Jets offseason. This is going to release initially to just the 100 people who got our Badlands rope hat. Shout to Paul for literally being a one-man merch store and cranking all those out. And then for everyone in War Room, you'll get this by about 72 hours after the initial drop. And don't worry if you didn't like hats. We're eventually going to release quarter zips and other clothes and apparel. That listen, the rope hat doesn't fit my head perfectly. Looks great on Connor. Looks great on Paul. Looks great on everyone else. For me, I have to wait for the quarter zip or something else in my 37-year-old age. Anyway, I don't want to rant here. We got Connor, we got Meegs, we got Will, we got Paul. CR and I have been recording for about 4 hours, so I'm going to start with him. Now, Connor, I don't want politically correct, measured, sensible, logical.
Is the big one.
Yeah. I want like as hot of a take as you could give within the spectrum of reason. What is going to happen? And this could include the draft. So however many days that is from today, it's like 50 days. What's going to happen the next 60 days to the New York Jets roster? What is going to play out in sort of like your widest variance staying tethered to reality? The floor is yours.
So I'll tie it together and say that they shockingly do enough in free agency on the offensive line where they sign 3 guys that you could argue can start, right? And this is not saying Carter Warren is penciled into one of the 5 spots because that does not count. I'm rooting for his development. I hope he could be their swing guy, and I believe in that. But they'll do enough in free agency on the offensive line that you can write out a legit starting 5 when you add in Tittman and AVT, that the discourse around the 10th overall pick will be much more interesting after free agency, that you could soundly argue that they could take Bowers, Rome Odunze, if you're a real sicko, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse after they lose Bryce Huff in free agency. I know nobody's going to be doing that. Or a trade out opportunity as well. I think that now will all 3 of those offensive line signings be high end guys, or like Tyron Smith, Mike Onwenu, and Kevin Dotson? Absolutely not. There's no way. But I think 2 of the 3 will be penciled in as no brainer starters, and maybe a third guy that you can argue him combined with a round 3 or 4 depth pick can get you by. That pick number 10 becomes a lot more interesting for all of us, rather than just assuming it's the best tackle on the board for the Jets. Is that hot enough?
It's pretty. Joe Douglas, So 3 capable offensive linemen.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. They got a lot of work to do in that scenario.
That's pretty hot. I mean, I'm not going to – if Joe Douglas could sign 3 capable starting offensive linemen in one offseason, I would be ecstatic. And look, there's actually enough guys out there where it can be done. We'll see, man. I hope they have some more variance potential with the 10th overall pick, just because being so locked into a tackle, it's dangerous. That happened last year, and we saw what happened, and they could say whatever they want. They were caught completely flat-footed and couldn't get out of the pick, and here we are with a long-winded reason to probably let Bryce Huff walk. But hopefully by the time this releases...
One more.
All right, let's hit it.
Since we're convinced that the backup quarterback is either Jacoby Brissett or Ryan Tannehill, it won't be. It'll be somebody else.
It's going to be like Heineke or something like that. I don't know. I won't go down that road. Joe Flacco could be coming back. I won't let the dream die. I heard he might go to the Patriots, actually. That was the last rumor I heard. They're going for Flacco or Brissett as a bridge quarterback, which... Okay. We'll see. All right, CR, your watch has ended. We have about 41 emergency pods to hopefully record next week. The long-awaited Aaron Brewer emergency pod.
Yep.
That needs to
we
drop.
will do it just because we've joked about it.
Yes.
Time to hibernate.
That's it. All right, Paul, I'm going to throw it to you next. Other guys host, coming off the first merch drop. What is your big dream Jets offseason look like?
I'm going to untether myself from reality. I know you said to stay close, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it loose. And I don't know if this is necessarily a dream, but would I like it? Yeah, I would like it. And I'm going to agree with Connor's last point there that the back quarterback is not Brissett, and it's not one of the ones we think about. And I'm going to go Sammy D coming home. The prince that was promised returns, and we all get back to business before everything went wild with COVID. And we can kind of, there's been there were some weird stories that were probably not true that came out at the end of last season and a little bit at the beginning of the offseason about, well, we never really wanted Zach Wilson in the first place. None of that is true. We know kind of where everybody was at when it was happening, but it would be funny. You could throw a lot of different adjectives on what it would be for him to come back and kind of take on that role that everybody thought Zach Wilson was going to do, which is study under Aaron Rodgers and then eventually become the franchise quarterback. So, Sam was a guy that I really loved when he was here. I wanted it to succeed. I felt like he did everything right. And then he was kind of cast aside before it was over, in my opinion, right? And so he's kind of floated around the league and done nothing, and he's a serviceable backup, which is what we need. So if we take away all the future-looking stuff and just say, can we go out and get a serviceable backup? He is one. Do I think it's really going to happen? Probably not. Is it tethered to reality? Probably not. But if we're asking for a crazy take, that's the one I got for you.
It would be such a fun and funny story if that actually happened. Like, if you put the history aside, like, he's kind of like exactly the kind of player they should sign. I don't think he would come back here for like a multitude of reasons. And he'll have plenty of other opportunities, I'm sure, in other places. But it would be a fun one because honestly, if they don't get Brissett or Minshew or Tannehill, which there's certainly a world that this happens, like, is it Tyrod? Is it Heineke? Is it like Case Keenum? I shudder to start thinking about what some of these other options could end up being. Is it Russell Wilson? Was Tannenbaum onto something all along? I don't know. And I worry about, I know, and again, I don't know what they're pre-leaking out to the beat, but the beat hasn't been very bullish on the Jets being aggressive on day one of free agency, particularly a backup quarterback. So let's see how that plays out or how they're going to, I mean, it just feels like off of Woody's commentary of calling Zach Wilson, what I always call him, a dented traffic cone, except to the entire league in front of him, that like, it feels like a mandate in that building to put like a functional human being as like the backup quarterback and whatever they're going to do there. But I don't know. This team can surprise me at times.
I'll back off it a little bit, and I'll say that of the big board that we posted, 10% of that big board are former Jets. So I will say somebody's coming back. I don't know who it is, but somebody's coming back.
You could build quite an offensive line. In some ways, like Fance out there, Chuma, Doga. I think Morgan Moses might be a free. There's just like a lot of ex-Jets who are randomly like available this offseason. Braxton Berrios too, but don't come back. Someone was just tweeting me the Vikings game and the drop and gave me bad PTSD. All right, Will, I know you're pissed that Paul just took your Darnold take.
No, dude, I loved it.
You're gonna have to come up with something else now for your hot take. And look, anything you say, I'm gonna assume is based off a nugget you heard at Combine. So you got to tread lightly here.
Yeah, we're gonna tread lightly. So I'm gonna go Sam Darnold. Well, I was gonna go Sam Darnold will go 8-9 with the Vikings as a starter this year, and Justin Jefferson will have 198 targets. Half will be picks, half won't. They'll be really fun. Jordan Addison to Sammy D 3 times next year. I'll be like, see, this is what it could have been. That said, I'm gonna go. I'll go 2 hot takes just to, of course, can't do it, traditionally. One, I'll say the Jets extend Conklin 2 for 20 and Michael Carter 3 for 22, 23 in the springtime, freeing up kind of that training camp level cap room to kind of push some money down the road. And Aaron Jones gets post June 1 cut by the Packers after refusing a pay cut. And we go down the same road with a much better player during camp. So not really. It would be really awesome if they extended Conklin to Michael Carter and signed Aaron Jones. Like, I'd be down for that. I think anyone complaining about that would just be kind of wanting to be negative at that point. So I'm going to go, that's one semi-hot take, semi-pretty based in reality of numbers and guys that want to be extended and probably should be based on where they are to push their numbers down the line. My other hot take is it's not, I guess it's hot. I joked about it with Meegs. Mike Williams and Darnell Mooney will be the 2 receiver additions this year. Mike Williams will have a Pro Bowl level season for the Jets when he's healthy, and he will obviously miss 3 games with a sprained ankle and be questionable for 13 of the other games, but will catch a bunch of touchdowns, and Joe will post Brandon Marshall 2015 highlights, but they'll make the playoffs. Darnell Mooney will be really cool at some weeks, and other weeks you're like, why